Hey everybody, I hope you all are doing well and welcome back to Whiskey Wonders. And today we are at one of our favorite international terminals here in Los Angeles at the Los Angeles International Airport, or as it's lovingly known as LAX. And we must have caught it at the right time because it appears that we got there right after a Buffalo Trace whiskey drop that includes the notoriously hard to find, or at least hard to get, Blanton's Single Barrel, as well as the less hyped but also equally amazingly good, the Eagle Rare. Each of them are hard to find for their own reasons. And also the avant-garde version of Jack Daniels, a travel-only version, a single malt, in fact, that looks very interesting, but maybe not interesting enough to lug around all of Europe and bring back in one piece. Now, before we get to it, if you like these videos, if you like the Wanders, and if you like the hauls, and if you really like all of our videos, whether it is the unbottlings, the unboxings, and all the amazing stuff that we got cooking up for you, and we have a lot, don't forget to like and subscribe because it really does help the channel to grow, and we are so thankful for that. Thank you. But also because you get updates when our newest videos, our longs, as well as our shorts come out. All right, now, let's get down to the video. All right, so while we are waiting for the Wander Vision to get fired up and ourselves to get fired up, let me get a glass here, and we're gonna do a real quick whiskey check where I think I'm gonna be enjoying, you know what, I'm gonna be enjoying a little bit of this Barrel Vantage from Barrel Spirits. You know, I haven't had any of this in quite some time, and I always like this. It's got a nice healthy ABV on it. So let's see if we can get a pop on that. Oh. Not too bad. And get a little bit of juice here. Oh yeah. All right. And it's a whiskey because honestly, let's face it, you can never really drink too much of it. You can only just drink it too fast. Cheers. It's got that new age style. All right, so first up for today, and it is always a little nice to see, a nice little treat, if you will, really anywhere when you find it on the shelf and not behind the counter or being swooped up so fast that it makes your head spin, are actually two bottles from Buffalo Trace. The first is the always enjoyable, if not overhyped, we'll be honest, overhyped, Blanton's Single Barrel, like this one, and the ultimate great value for price. Really, I don't think there's a better price to palate option that you can find, which is this Eagle Rare 10 as well that we see here at the duty free, which is sort of like a gated neighborhood. You know, that's why they hadn't got picked up so quick. And of course, always nice to see, but the pricing is maybe something else as well. Also noticeably, they are side by side, which obviously begs the question, which one should you get if you are gonna get one? Now, duty frees, just in case you were not sure, are sort of a no man's land as far as taxes go. Now, I'm not 100% sure why they even exist, but I am sure glad that they do. And the long and the short of it is that they are really only available for folks who are in the international terminals or who are leaving the country going international. So I guess you could drive over the border as well. They have them down there too. And anything you buy there, well, it's not gonna have a tax on it. That means there are usually goods that are super high value, like perfumes and high-end cigars, wine, watches, jewelries, and yes, of course, whiskey. And the advantage is that you don't have to pay, again, that 10% tax if you're here in California, or whatever it is, if it's a luxury tax, if you buy them, that you would have had to pay if you bought them outside of the duty free. Of course, the catch is that you have to be leaving the country, so you can't buy them and come back into the US. And in fact, in some cases, they will, actually in LA, they will give you the bottle and you take it with you. But other states and other countries, they will basically take the bottle, follow you to the gate, give it to the flight attendant, and then they will only give it to you once they are on their way to land in the international place. So yeah, that is the duty free, just in case, a quick brief overview of duty free, just in case you weren't sure. But duty frees, although they do not have a tax, well, it doesn't always mean that they have great deals, especially for whiskey, and especially in this case. I guess another side note for duty-free is that they oftentimes have interesting travel whiskeys that are specifically designed to only be available in that little market garden of the duty-free. So they have interesting things like we'll see with the Jack Daniels that you're only going to find in a duty-free or a travel section. But we'll talk about that one here in a second. My point being is that you can see here that the cost for the Blanton Single Barrel and the Eagle Rare are at $115.00. Yes, strange here in the US. For the Blantons, and $68.00 for the Eagle Rare. And again, that might seem reasonable if you are comparing to the typical mom and pop liquor store prices, which are usually bordering on highway robberies. But if you do have access to them at MSRP, so if you have access to them at like a Costco or maybe at a state-owned liquor store, I don't know about that because they don't have those really out here. But if you have access to those, then, you know, those prices are really not that great, but the benefit is that you can actually get them. For example, Blanton's at $115 that we see at the LAX duty free, we saw maybe about 6 months ago for $47.99 at, I believe it was Costco, or maybe it was Total Wine. I'll have to look in the footage for that. Also, same with the Eagle Rare. We saw it for $26.99. Again, so, you know, if someone did buy the Blantons at the duty free, they'd be paying $67.01 more than the MSRP for the Blantons, or $41.01 more for the Eagle Rare at 58.27% or 60.31%. So basically about the same markup for both of them. Now, on the plus side, duty-free has a considerably larger barrier to access for these types of whiskeys and other types of whiskeys, and especially for Japanese whiskeys. And coupled with the higher, but not too high prices, it means that you can, again, finally usually see these on the shelves, and they don't just fly off so fast that no one can get them, even if they are, you know, not ideally priced. I guess we'll call them ideally priced. So the question is it worth it in this case? And in this case, it was going to be a pass because, I mean, one, you'd have to buy these and either drink them while we are on our trip, because we are leaving LAX, we're not coming back, or we'd have to lug them around for thousands of kilometers across Europe through multiple countries. So they would take up space that we are reserving for some pretty other amazing bottles that we got while we were outside the good old US of A. So in this case, it was a bit of a pass, but if you wait a little while and you catch our Whiskey Wanderers Heathrow duty-free on the way back, you will see why we were lucky to have enough space, because we pick up some whiskey that is $5,000 plus from Japan. I'll leave you all to guess which one that is. So in this case, this one was a pass, but, you know, just happy to see them sometimes. Happy to see them on the shelf. So that is the Blantons and the Eagle Rare. Now, next up is an interesting, if not a bit of an odd bird from the Jack Daniels menagerie of whiskeys, which is this Jack Daniels Single Malt American Whiskey. Now, as I mentioned, I am pretty often impressed at this moment with how Jack Daniels has at least grown branches from its main body of whiskey production, which is typically known for quantity and a very specific quality, and an attitude of all its own, but it has grown roots into a very avant-garde, interesting, novel types of whiskey as well, using finishing and aging and collaborations to make some what I would consider pretty exciting whiskeys. In this specific case, we see the Single Malt Tennessee whiskey from Jack Daniels, or an American whiskey, that is also finished in Oloroso sherry cask, which oftentimes is reserved for some of the Japanese whiskeys. You see a lot in the Irish whiskeys, and you see some in the Scotches as well. And I have seen this happen with a couple other U.S. brands as far as the Single Malt American whiskeys. I think High West is one as well. I can't remember the other one. But honestly, it doesn't seem to have caught on, despite being so popular and frankly demanded in Europe when it comes to Scotches, you know, having single malts like the Macallan and so on and so forth. So my suspicion is, not having tried any of these yet, is that the bourbon, or perhaps the Tennessee whiskey in this case, is just a whiskey that is not delicate enough in their flavor profile really to be moved one way or the other with the finishing or with the single malt. And also, maybe it is possible that the single maltiness might just be a bit strange. It might just be too odd outside of the baseline for the average devout bourbon whiskey American drinking consumer. Like when you listen to your favorite song, but you paid a couple extra bucks to get it covered by La Banda at a Mexican food restaurant. It's just a little off-putting. Now, the Jack Daniels Single Malt is made from 100% malted barley, Of course, it is distilled by the good folks at Brown-Forman at their Jack Daniels distillery. And it does go through that standard Jack Daniels charcoal mellowing process. And also in the notes, it says that it's aged for 5 years in first fill American oak barrels and then finished for 2 years in Oloroso sherry cask. So that does seem interesting for sure. Here at LAX Duty Free, we see it for $100, which is a pretty penny when you put it up against some of the other higher ABVs, other finished styles of single barrel Jack Daniels that you find maybe at a Total Wine or at a Costco or at a Costco grand opening. Check out our Costco grand opening video here. But you know, there's always going to be a premium on a whiskey that is designed just for that little niche travel market. And there are not really any comparable costs to find it because this is only just in the duty-free little zone, so you don't really see them outside. So since it's in that little bubble, we don't have a lot of comparisons from the other big box stores to make a price comparison. Additionally, there is not an age statement on it, and the ABV is a little bit higher than the standard Jack Daniels, at least at 45% or 90 proof. Which is of course 5% higher than the standard Jack Daniel. Lastly, the tasting notes that I could find for it mention things like cocoa powder, rhubarb with strawberry mixed in, overripe cherries, vanilla beans, and obviously an interesting lack in the banana fosteriness that becomes very common with the Jack Daniels line and the family. So, that's interesting that they decided to get rid of that. The overall scores I could find on it put it at 84 points, which is about what I expected, because really, the reason to buy this, what is the reason to buy this? Maybe is to have an out of the baseline kind of novel Jack Daniels experience rather than have a fall in love mouth moment with the whiskey. I think that's probably true. And just, you know, I think sometimes you want a bit of a whiskey side quest that gets you some extra experience points, but ultimately doesn't have much of an effect on your overall main mission. So that is Jack Daniels Single Malt. It was a pass for us just because it just wasn't provocative enough to bring us in and to carry around and to have for, you know, the remainder of the trip. So I guess it'd be interesting to try somewhere. Jack Daniels Single Malt. All right, so that's it for today's Whiskey Wanders Part 1 at the LAX Duty Free. And I really hope that you enjoyed this video. And in fact, I hope that you enjoy all of our videos, whether it is the Wanders or the hauls or the reviews or the unbottlings, the unboxings, and really all the amazing stuff that we got cooking up for you. And we have tons and tons of amazing stuff cooking up for you. And if you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe because it does help the channel to grow, and we are growing, and we are so thankful for that. Thank you. But also it means you get updates when our newest videos come out, whether that be the long videos or the short videos. Both of those are coming out, and we got some really great ones coming up for you as well. So don't forget to hit that like and subscribe so you can get notifications when all that stuff happens. And just remember, if you do find a whiskey that you love, even if it is in a duty-free, even if you are leaving the country, just buy it. Because somebody else surely will. Maybe not in this case, but it might even be me. All right, everybody, have a great rest of your week. I'm out, and adios.